Okay, here we are at part 12, and we've reached the book of 2 Kings in our series that I've entitled 66 Books, a series of short overview surveys of the 66 books of our Bible. This is the Book of Kings, the book of the destruction of the kingdom. First and Second Kings were originally one volume. The 2 books of Kings carry on the history of Israel from where the book of Samuel left off. They describe the division of the kingdom into 2, and then the history and the decline and fall of those 2 separate kingdoms. Second Kings records the destruction of those kingdoms. It is also the book that begins to show the beginning of the dispersion of the people of God. Thinking about the author of this book, Jewish tradition says that 1 and 2 Kings were written by Jeremiah. Some argue that Jeremiah ended his days in Egypt and could not have survived the latter events recorded in the book, namely the release of Jehoiakim from prison and his exaltation to royal honours by Mordecai. However, the literary style of 2 Kings is very similar to Jeremiah. Also, if Jeremiah did not write Kings, the omissions of his ministry and the account of King Josiah and his successor are very difficult to explain. Historians know from other sources that Jeremiah died a very old man, aged over 80 in fact. And further evidence of his authorship would be in the fact that 2 Kings chapter 24:18 through to chapter 25:30 are almost identical to Jeremiah chapter 52. If Jeremiah wrote Kings or finished Kings in Babylon, the recipients were obviously then the Jews taken captive by Nebuchadnezzar. Daniel and Ezekiel would have been among them. Daniel definitely knew about the book of Jeremiah, for in Daniel 9:2 he refers to Jeremiah 25:11 and 12. 2 Kings records the miracle-filled ministry of Elisha. During this period, Amos and Hosea prophesied in Israel, and Obadiah, Joel, Isaiah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, and Jeremiah, they ministered in Judah. The contents of 2 Kings gives an account of the reigns of various kings, but it is written selectively, not comprehensively. The subject is the defeat and the destruction of the northern kingdom by Assyria and the southern kingdom by Babylon. The message of 2 Kings is disobedience, and that disobedience will always lead to decay, defeat, and destruction. Like 1 and 2 Kings, it hinges and hangs on chronology. It is an account of the reign of one king after another. The format is sections are often introduced by the phrase, in such and such a year, so and so became king. So the book is divided into 2 main sections. The first covers the destruction of the northern kingdom in the first 17 chapters, and one by one the life story of 20 different kings of the northern kingdom are described for us. And then in the second part of the book, from chapters 18 to 25, we see the destruction of the southern kingdom, and the reign of a further 10 kings is described. Thinking about the purpose of this book, 2 Kings was written from the prophetic viewpoint to teach that the decline and collapse of the 2 kingdoms occurred because of the failures on the part of their rulers, and the people to heed the warning of God's messengers who came along the way. Always remember also that 2 Kings was written by a prophet, not a historian. So in summarizing the whole book, we can say an unknown author, although probably Jeremiah, wrote to the Jews in captivity in Babylon to teach them that habitual disobedience led to the decay, defeat, and destruction of both the northern and the southern kingdoms in Israel. The spiritual climate of a nation, therefore, will always determine its political and its economic outcome.